got some more Detroit Lions news, some actual Detroit Lions news to discuss here. And Spinney, you put it this way. MIA putting out APBs for these Lions. James Houston, Jack Campbell, DPJ, Josh Pesco, and Khalif. Why haven't we heard anything out of camp from these guys? One, just real quick, before we get into it, I do want to give some bail to Khalif. He has been making plays. He's a first-team kick returner. He had a very strong rep against Carlton Davis in 1v1s. I just don't think he's in that wide receiver 3 conversation enough to be a topic for writers to discuss about. He's like one of those guys you kind of just knew was going to be on the team, you know?
Yeah.
And then actually, I don't know. I was going to give some bail to Josh Pascal, but I did see him out there with the third team a few times. Matter of fact, I think on the unofficial official depth chart, he is 13.
He was in the slot in the unofficial official depth chart. But the other guys are a little more concerning to me. I think the guy I'm most concerned with that we haven't heard from is James Houston. Because you expect James Houston to be that guy. You expect him to be the guy we saw in that 8-game stretch where he looked unguardable when he was out there, where he was getting a sack a game. You expect James Houston to go out there and make plays for this team. We have not heard his name once throughout the entirety of training camp so far. How concerned are you with that? Do you think it's just other guys showing up? Because we're hearing a lot out of Levi. We're hearing a lot out of Hutchinson. We're hearing a lot of Ali McNeil, even Davenport. But I haven't heard Houston once.
A few times I've heard Houston were
not good.
Not great. Yeah, it was just they're still trying to force him into that box as a Sam linebacker, which again I don't understand why they're willing to just allow. And again, maybe they're just giving up on. I don't want to say they're giving up on Betts, but kind of like not want to waste as much time if they don't believe he's going to make the team. But I don't know why you can't have the same philosophy with James Houston when you know he can actually rush a quarterback at the NFL level. Like we don't know that about Matthew Betts. He has had NFL chances before and just never fell through. However, you've had James Houston in limited action show you that he could be what felt like one of the best pure edge rushers in the league. I'm still trying to figure that one out. I'm not as concerned, however, because he's still getting the reps over the guys I feel like he's competing against. Obviously, you have the injury to John Kaminsky as well, which is probably kind of reserving a roster spot for him. A guy that's on this list that I'm concerned about, but maybe only because of my own expectations, is Jack Campbell. We heard the hype, and we read it here on the show as confirmation bias. We had Shep on the show. We played the clip of Chef hyping him up, had AG hyping it up. He had that, like you said, he had that big Mike energy or big blue dot energy, whichever it was, green dot. And it felt like our expectations for him a year or two were going to come true. We haven't seen it. When I was there, I didn't see it. We haven't read about it. Jack Campbell is the one I'm a little bit concerned about. We still got a good team. It's just I wanted him to be, I guess, more involved.
Yeah, you would have liked to hear from that. We expect a big year from him. Another year under Kelvin Shepard, a guy in front of him in DJ Reader who hasn't been there at practice, but still during live reps, that's going to help. A veteran in front of him in Alex Anzalone that can show him some ways on how he improved. He had a decent rookie year. It's not like he had a terrible rookie year. He had second on the team in tackles, so he had a pretty good rookie year. And we expect him to take a jump, but we haven't heard much from him out of camp so far. And that is a little bit concerning. Although it isn't with a linebacker. With Jack Campbell, you're not hearing him. I'm not as concerned as not hearing James Houston. Because Jack Campbell, I feel like the way you'd be, other than him getting interceptions and being insane, the way you'd be hearing about him more is if he was blowing tackles, blowing assignments, not filling the gap, not filling the hole, not making plays, then you'd be hearing his name more. So not hearing him in that aspect is good. But with James Houston, really the only time you would hear James Houston's name is if he's sacking the quarterback, and we haven't heard that.
What do you guys take this team to a new level? Defensive line, if an upgraded D-line opposite of Hutch, or is it Jack Campbell becoming an elite middle linebacker? Defensive line, because it helps out the whole entire defense. So that's why, I am a little bit worried about James Houston. It's not like I'm freaking out because this is preseason, this is camp, and obviously James Houston shines on third down in game scenarios, like in an actual game. We saw him actually getting snaps in the preseason last year, which I feel like this is a similar thing that is happening. MCDC needs to see him stop the run and put actual effort into stopping the run, or else he's not going to let him go. But he played in 21 defensive snaps to open the year last year in Kansas City, and I feel like they were all, passing situations, because when things are on the line, you're going to let him off the chain like a bulldog, like I know Spenny loves to say. You're going to let him go get the quarterback when you actually need it the most. So I'm not too worried. I think when push comes to shove, MCDC will let him go after the quarterback, even if he hasn't earned it with the rushing stops. That's what I've seen from last year, and I'm just going to go off that.
Caleb?
Yeah, with the guys on these lists, I would say Josh Pascal's more. I know we really didn't talk about him much, but I think he's more. It's not necessarily concerning. I think it's more disappointing because this is a guy you wanted to take a jump. He's had trouble staying healthy these past couple years, and you wanted him to take a jump. It was kind of him and Levi on the edge of, if you don't come out and camp and perform, you're on the edge of getting cut. And Levi's performing. Pascal's not. Pascal's going to have a hard time finding a roster spot, even with the Kaminsky.
Whoa.
Even with the Kaminsky injury, you think Pascal right now, we haven't heard anything about him. We haven't heard him showing out in camp. You think he's a lock to make this roster?
Yes.
Who has a better chance, him or Betts, do you think?
Oh, Pascal by far.
But Pascal hasn't been good.
He's made plays, just not enough glowing plays, I guess. Like not enough to be I guess of note, I'm pretty sure he had a sack against the second team. Yeah, against the third and second team. It's just they're coming against the third and second team. He is by far. I love you, Caleb.
I don't think it's that.
Betts isn't an NFL player, or Pascal is drafted second round.
But how do we know Pascal's an NFL player?
Because we've seen it.
We've seen
him in action.
He hasn't been. He wasn't very good when he played.
He was good. He just wasn't elite. He wasn't. Maybe he's. I guess watching it more towards average, but he's also not that caliber of player. I think he's more of a guy to fill a gap, and play a run, set an edge versus go and get a quarterback.
So where would you, when you're thinking opposite of Hutch, are you thinking Pascal, or were you thinking next to Ali McNeil? Are you thinking Pascal in any way?
So the thing with Pascal is they have him playing that 3-tech and the edge. So
yeah, next to it could be next to if Aleem's in that 3-tech. Are you thinking next to Reader?
He's definitely a second unit guy. Definitely, and that's how the defensive line's played. And I think Jim Schwartz, former coach here, kind of set that precedent where you're constantly rotating defensive linemen to keep them fresh because they're bigger body fellas. But Pascal's definitely part of the rotation. I just think your return as a second-round pick, maybe you're not going to necessarily see because maybe he's more of an edge guy. But Pascal, by far,
the foot cancer.
By far above. Yeah, he overcame foot cancer. No, but by far a better play than Matthew Betts. That was disrespectful.
Sorry, Matt. Sorry, Josh Pascal. But that's just what I think.
Don't let him guess.
I'm not. I disagree with him. But
so you think Betts has an equal opportunity to make the roster over Pascal?
Maybe that was a little bit of an overshoot, but I think Pascal has a good chance of not making this roster.
That's
Kaminsky, and this sounds kind of shitty to say, but Kaminsky getting hurt gave him a very good shot to make it. But I think if Kaminsky was still healthy, Pascal would be on that edge, and Levi Onwuzurike was as well. But he's been showing out. That's kind of what I was saying. Pascal needed to have a camp like Levi Onwuzurike is, and he's not.
Well, it's just tough, man. There's different strokes. Like we kind of talked about it, that edge spot has kind of been what's your flavor this week?
Yeah, and it's kind of like hockey shifts. You're kind of gonna. That's what that other edge spot it's gonna be. It's gonna be it's gonna be the rotation of Davenport, Houston, and other guys. And I just don't think Pascal's going to be one of those guys that Aaron Glenn's going to throw in there, because you got to think of the expectations of the players now on this team that this isn't 2021 Lions anymore. This is a Super Bowl caliber team, and I don't know how many snaps a guy like Josh Pascal is going to make on a team like this.
I think, and I have to check the numbers on it, but I would even go out there and say that he probably played more snaps last year than Kaminsky to begin with.
But that defensive line didn't have a lot of depth last year.
It did not. The defensive line was not great.
Line was awful.
Yeah, I'm not penciling him in as a starter. I'm not penciling him as a stud. But he's definitely going to make the roster, I guess is what I'm saying. And by the way, too, we also kind of been flip-flopping through our defensive line coaches, I should say. And I think we got the best one now here in Terrell Williams. And I feel like Pascal, he's kind of like the tweener with John Kaminsky. Remember John Kaminsky used to play that inside same thing.
Yeah.
You know, play inside or either 3-tech or the edge. We had Danico Autry, who did get suspended for steroids, by the way, which might explain his ageless wonder year last year with those 10+ sacks, whatever it was.
Wait,
but,
like this year he got suspended?
yeah, he's got knocked for PEDs.
Rip.
I mean, double check on that because I was wrong about what's his name going to the Vikings. But, no, man, Pascal's going to make this team.
Yeah, he was getting big minutes, a lot of snaps in the playoffs. I wanted to double check that, but 36, 32, and 43 going from the NFC Championship game, and he got a TFL in that game as well. I think Pascal, like, big thing about him is the health. Like, he's been banged up his first couple seasons in the NFL. I feel like maybe he hasn't been able to get into that rhythm that you would expect a second-round pick. Almost like, I mean, definitely not on the level, but almost like a Levi Onwuzurike. Like, these are two defensive linemen that Brad Holmes drafted early, and if we can only think of if they can get rolling, like, they're both going to help out this team significantly. But to your point, Caleb, he's got to step up. Like, when you get drafted that high, you do need to be a difference maker, and he's kind of just been more of a rotational piece. So I would like to see him take another step this season as well.
Yeah.
I'm worried about Jack Campbell just simply because, I'm not worried about Jack Campbell. I'm more worried about James Houston because Jack Campbell last year, what did we hear going into training camp? I mean, we saw it even the day we went, that Jack Campbell was just looking electric. He stood out on his own. And so he had this good camp, and then he had, I don't want to say a bad season by any means, but he didn't have the breakout season that you expected, especially when you pair it next to Gibbs' success his rookie year. So for me, I'm actually not too concerned yet on Jack Campbell because last year, there was a more positive narrative coming into or coming from camp than there seems to be this year. I'm worried about Houston, not because of anything with his talent. I just think this Lions team favors so much versatility that's so important to them, and I think that they're just despite his great talent at what he does, his great skill at getting to the quarterback is sacking the quarterback. They want a guy that can do multiple things, and so while his skill set, and it's obvious for all of us to sit here and say, let him on 3rd and longs just go get the quarterback, and I hope to God they do that. But they've shown time and time again that they want players that just do multiple things over anything else. So I'm worried that he might not just get the shot.
Kaminsky, more starts and more games played than Pascal last year.
Yeah, I mean, Chris is right. It's a good point, Chris. We talk about it all the time. The versatility. We talk about them doing different things, moving guys around, playing different people in different positions. That's why Josh Pascal might be fine without popping off because he can play every position on the defensive line. Levi Onwuzurike has proved that he can play multiple positions on that offense or defensive line. James Houston can really only do one thing at an NFL caliber level, and it's an important thing in getting to the quarterback, but it still is one thing, and we know that that's not something that they appreciate, is when you're a one-sided, one-trick pony, they want you to be a guy that can do multiple things and play in any spot. That's why they added a Davenport. That's why they added other players in that secondary to complement people like Amik Robertson and Carlton Davis. So we'll see what happens, but I mean, the more you talk about it, the more like Houston needs to. I'm not worried about Houston not being on this team, but he's got to find something else that he can do rather than just get to the quarterback because these coaches need you to be out there a lot if you're going to play for them.
And that's the part that sucks, though, too, because he's so damn good at getting to the quarterback. So it's like I don't really want to let that go.
I don't either.
Especially just, damn well if he goes, he's going to like Baltimore or Cleveland. He's going to look like a stud.
Yeah.
And it's going to be the most annoying shit in the world.
Because this Lions regime is so focused on the versatility, and again, it's a beautiful thing. It's why we were able to patch together what we had in that defense last year and make it work. Was because of it. Yeah, exactly. Those injuries, well, because of the adaptability of this team, we were able to do it. But that's what scares me about this team is that they are set in this way, and this is just that one scenario that I'm like, look, I know your principles, and I never tell a team to abandon their principles, but this is the one time where I'm like, you got to just let this guy go because who cares about anything else he can do because he can do that better than almost anybody in the league. And that's something that this team desperately needs to go to the next level.
So to bring this full circle, I think we all don't think that Khalif or Jack Campbell, has any chance of getting cut here. But with the other three, James Houston, DPJ, Josh Pascal. Who's the most likely to get cut there?
DPJ.
Wow.
Yeah, I'd say DPJ because of the injury to John Kaminsky. I think James Houston would have had a decent shot of getting cut.
Yeah.
And like I said, Pascal.
I'll tell you what, if you still can, I'd take the under on his numbers on props. Put the house on it.
Yeah. I mean, the beautiful thing is tomorrow,
Yeah.
Pascal's going to be getting reps. Houston's going to be getting reps. DPJ getting reps.
See, Christian Watson got injured today?
Get the fuck out of here.
Wait, really?
Like, I guess, like, he went down and the whole team went around him and went down on a knee.
That's what you do, though, right?
Are you gaslighting?
I know.
right now,
I heard
dude?
that. It's, I think Hughes said it in the back.
Oh, 4 hours ago. Yeah, Packers receiver Christian Watson, good after another scare. I'm not so excited about him being hurt. I'm just excited about my bet that I made with the Packers reporter. Very, can I call him arrogant? He's still in front of the show.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Sure.
He's extremely arrogant.
What's a nicer way to say it, though?
I
He's
feel like arrogance the nice guy.
Yeah, you could say a lot more bad things than
Yeah.
arrogant.
I just want to say, I mean, I like the guy.
Stupid.
Because we're boys, and we obviously will argue, but I like having that like adversary, so I like to have him on the show. I don't want to offend him too bad.
Other than when he makes up stats.
Yeah.
No, that was us that time.
DPJ most
No,
likely.
our stats
Yeah.
were real.
Shout out
His
Smith.
stats were.
What'd you
his
call
stats
it?
were
What
not real.
was,
Speepa or something?
Speepa.
Yeah, Speeper rate.
Yeah, his people rankings were way higher than
He's like, oh, I haven't had a look at that.
Can I be honest with you guys too?
he definitely took the Speepa rankings hook, line, and sinker.
There's certain stats I hear blurted out that I cannot find, like to verify.
Like what?
Yeah.
So you're saying I can just blurt stats out? If you can't find them, you can't argue.
On ESPN even too. Mina said one the other day. I was like, "There's no way."
Well, this guy ranks 6th in exit velocity after the ball leaves the fan towards the sideline on Tuesday night after 4 p.m.
I'm gonna message her tonight. Just ask what website she
Whoa.
uses. What?
Hey,
Oh, I get that, bro. She hopped on the show.
you up?